Do you think funding for education is important?
Yes.
So why do you feel that?
Well, I work in education, and I think education is probably about the most important thing that we can give to people, because it allows you to live your life in a better way, I think. I fundamentally believe that. It's helped me to live my life in a better, fuller way, and I think it should be available for everybody to do that.
Do you feel that education is for everybody, not just the few?
Yes, very definitely.
And do you think it's just talk about that? That takes one to adult education in the community, adult education, like further education. You know that next year we're going to be cutting back on adult education.
Yeah.
That. So how do you feel about them cutting the adult education or cutting the concession fees? So what do you think about that?
It's a tragedy. I think the commitment that we had 20 or 30 years ago to what was called lifelong learning, in which you could go on learning through your life, the loss of that, I think, has been a real step back for us all in this country. And I would really like to be able to see a restoration of forms of community and further education and higher education. Where I work, it's an evening college for people working and then going to college, but all of that has been very severely hit by government policies, not just this government, but the previous government as well.
Thank you. Just one parliamentary candidate, if you could speak to a person standing for election, the coming election, what is there a question you'd like to ask them?
Well, I would like to ask them about their commitment to I would like to ask them where the value of education is on their list of priorities. And I would want to see it high up.
Okay, that'd be great. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
So, I don't know if you know, but they're cutting back on adult community education come next year.
Yeah.
Come back with 5% of the budget in the last 5 years of the Tory government. How do you feel it's important for adults to have education?
Of course, I think I think it's incredibly important. Like, because when adults get to a certain stage of their lives when they feel as though they may have gone down the wrong path, and they just want to transform their lives. And I know a lot of people that have done it who have actually just changed their careers halfway through their life or so, and wanted to go in a completely different direction, and that's obviously given them that. Blake.
Hello, Hymit. Hymit's kindly consented to answer the questions about education we're going to ask him for our blog site. Now, Hymit, do you think funding for education is important?
Absolutely.
Yeah, so why do you feel that? Why do you feel that way? Why do you think that?
I think because it's a socio-economic thing, that the haves get more, the have-nots don't get as much, and therefore we end up creating a divide within the communities, and unfortunately the poorest are the ones that suffer, and they're the ones that need the most help.
So you feel education is for everybody, it's a universal topic, yeah. So how do you feel about them cutting back on education? Do you think it should be increased or cut back? Things like that?
Funding, you mean?
Funding, yeah.
I think funding should be, first and foremost, is education, because I think if we educate the youth, it's going to set us up in the future to ensure that we have better research and development, to ensure that the economy is stronger, and that if we're funding military and everything else, it's kind of putting education second, third, fourth. And I think they're our future, and it's important for us to...
So what do you think about adult community education, adult education, further education? How do you feel about that? Do you think it's a necessity?
I think we should always be educated. I think if we strive for lifelong education, it's better. We always learn things, and so it's important for us to continue to learn. So if we're just focusing on children in that, then you've got a whole group of people that are just working right now that could be bettering themselves. And so if we can better them, we're bettering the community, we're bettering the place that we live in, we're making sure that everybody has an equal stake in what we're doing, and it just makes our lives better, I think. Yeah.
Right, thank you very much. Just one last question. If you could meet a candidate who's standing for the election, for this coming general election, what question would you like to ask him? Is there a question you could think that you'd like to ask him?
I'd like to actually know what they stand for, because they're all about mudslinging and telling me about what the other groups don't stand for, that nobody's giving me a real issue. So, I find it I switch off with politics these days. I don't like, because Cameron, I don't know what he stands for. Ed Miliband, I'm more Labour than Tory, but I still think that nobody is really, they're afraid to actually commit to an actual policy, and they're more concerned with what the previous government, what the current government's doing, instead of what they can actually do to better it.
Okay, that's great. Thank you very much.
Yeah?
Appreciate it.
Yeah.